Alright everyone, here we have the multicolor cards in Lorwyn Eclipse. It's just me from here on out, but the show must go on, so let's go. We have Abigail, Eloquent First Year, 2 mana Owl, Flying First Strike Lifelink. When it enters, target creature loses all abilities. Put some counters on it. Hmm, seems good. It's a shame that there are no +1/+1 counters to put on this in this set, because those abilities are pretty good. You can, if you play something that like had an ETB, and then you don't mind losing that since it already happened, and then do this. Unusual card, but I think it'll be good in limited, and then if your opponent has something that simply must be gotten rid of, then with a static ability of some kind, that's great. If you have a pacifism, you could use that and this to finish the job of making it useless if it has a static ability. But it's an unusual card. I don't know why it's here, but okay. Ashling's Command, first of the tribal commands, is 5 mana, blue-red. It's the only one that's an instant. For all of these, the first ability is to copy a creature of the type. This one can also draw 2. Deal 2 damage to each of your opponent's creatures, or create 2 treasure tokens. I think this one's good because it's an instant. And it also works on, if you have nothing, you can still draw cards and kill stuff, or draw cards and make treasure. I think basically always you'll want to draw cards as one of your choices with this. Um, if there's one that has a chance of seeing play outside of an elemental deck, it's this, but for the most part, I still think you would want to play elementals in standard. This and all of the others are amazing and limited if you are in the deck, though. And this one I think has a chance if there is an elemental deck in standard, or maybe some kind of is it control deck could play it as well. Boggart Curse Crafter, black red uncommon goblin. It's a 2/3 death touch. When another goblin you control dies, it does 1 to each opponent. This is a great 2-drop for goblins in limited. Amazing rate and very powerful ability. You don't mind putting a blight counter on this since it still has death touch, which is nice. Very good in that deck. One of the better uncommons, and I think in standard, this is probably better to main deck than the red rare that everyone's talking about. But that's more just that card being overrated, in my opinion. But still, I think it's quite good. This thing's quite good, and I think that card's playable as well. But I think that in most situations, this is better. And in limited, uh, that is definitely one of those situations where this is obviously a lot better. Great card, great rate, great ability, great creature type. Bre of Clan Stoutarm. 4 mana, 4/4. Tap 2 and it to give something else flying and lifelink. It's a giant. On your end step, if you gain life, you um, cascade to a non-land, and if it has a cost less than the life you gained, you can play it for free. Otherwise, put it in your hand. Amazing limited bomb. Great for a giant deck with a double striker. Gives something flying lifelink plus double strike. That is pretty good. Then just it draws an extra card every turn. So great card. And limited. I don't think otherwise playable, but absolute bomb. Rigid's command. 3 mana. The Kithkin tribal command. You choose 2. You can make a copy of the Kithkin. You can make a Kithkin token. Can give something +3/+3. And you can fight. This one has, still like all the others, great and limited if you're playing the deck. Standard has the problem of you cannot cast it on an empty board. You can't make the token and then copy it because the target has to be in play. And I think that means it won't be good enough for a standard Kithkin deck because it's so dependent on having creatures in play already. And very often, especially in standard, they just kill all your stuff. So you want more of a floor than this, especially for 3 mana. Catharsis, 6 mana, the Boros Elemental, Evoke, Mythic. 3/4, you spend double white to cast it, you get some Kithkin tokens. If you spend double red, you pump your team and get haste. In limited, the white ability is much better than the red one. You will play this if you aren't playing red in limited, is the main thing I have to say, especially in Kithkin. If you are playing both, it's even better, but it's still very good for just the white side. For just the red side, it's a bit lackluster though. But yeah, then in standard, maybe some kind of Boros tokens deck will want this. We'll see. Chaos Sphere is a common goblin, a hybrid, 3 mana 5/4. When it enters, you can pay 2 and blight 2. You can pay 2 or blight 2. This is good. It isn't great, but it's very good. A lot of flexibility here. You can just think of it as a 3 mana 3/2 with kicker 2 counters. 2+1/+1 counters, think of it that way. But also, if you have Blight synergy in your deck, or if you have goblins with death triggers, this is great with those as well. Don't pick it highly by any means, but it's certainly playable in that deck or in the black-white Blight deck. Chitness Graspling, 3 mana 3/4 reach changeling. This isn't a good rate, but if you need to make sure you have enough creatures of your tribe, you do play it. Deceit is the Dimir mythic evoke elemental. 6 mana 5/5 for double blue you bounce. If you pay double black, you Thoughtseize. This is probably the worst one. The cool thing is you can bounce and then Thoughtseize the thing if you do both, so that makes it good and limited. But not both of the abilities are overcosted on their own, and if you're constructed, otherwise it'll often just be a 6 mana Ravenous Chupacabra, which is too expensive for standard. Deep Channel Duelist is uncommon Merfolk, 2 mana 2/2. On your end step, you untap all your, or a Merfolk, and it's a Lord. Merfolk just keep getting the 2 mana Lords. This is very playable in Standard and Limited. Limited is just well costed, good abilities. But in Standard, like, Merfolk just like Lords. They played that 2 mana Mistbinder green-blue one from Ixalan with no abilities, like 5 or 6 years ago. Is it really that long ago? Maybe not 5 or 6. I don't know. When did the first Ixalan set come out? Leave a comment. But anyhow, they played that, and this is better, and in probably better colors for Merfolk as well, so I like it. If there's a Merfolk standard deck, it'll play it. Deepway Navigator, 2 mana flash Merfolk. When it enters, untap all of your other Merfolk, and as long as you attack with 3 or more Merfolk, they get +1/+0. I think this is possibly worse in standard than the other one. Limited, it might also be worse, but still quite good. It leads to some good surprise blocks, and it will often pump your team for an aggro draw. If you just happen to draw a low curve and your opponent stumbles, this will help kill them. Good card for Merfolk decks in Limited. I don't know if it's good enough for a standard Merfolk deck though. Doran, Besieged by Time. It's the new Doran. It's 4 mana, 0/5 Abzan. Legendary rare, Tree Folk. And all of your creatures with high toughness cost 1 less to cast. And when you attack or block, your creatures get +X/+X, where that X is the power toughness difference. So the main thing about this is that it attacks for 12 if you have that equipment that I mentioned earlier. So that's pretty cool in the white section. Uh, Fine in Commander. Not These decks are never good in Standard though, but this is a good limited card if you have the fixing to support it. It's also 3 for Vivid, which is nice. 3 colors. Dream Harvest. 7 mana. Each opponent exiles cards from the top of their library until they've exiled cards with mana value 5 or greater. You can cast the cards until end of turn without paying their mana costs. This card's not good, but you'll enjoy having it at the Two-Headed Giant pre-release if you're doing one of those. But otherwise, I don't see much point in spending 7 mana for what might very well be 5 mana worth of totally random cards. You usually want your cards and not your opponent's cards, since you put your own cards in your deck to synergize with each other. So that makes these kinds of effects worse. And since you take it from their library, it isn't like they're really losing anything. They just draw the card under it. So you could hit something very good, but you could also just hit something mediocre, which is not great for 7 mana. So it's a risky card to play in Limited or Constructed outside of Two-Headed Giant. Eclipse Boggart this cycle. These are good cards. These are some of the best uncommons in the set. 3 mana hybrid, 2/3. When it enters, you get a Goblin, Swamp, or Mountain. So all of these from the top 4. All of these have this ability where they take a basic of one of the types or they take a creature of the type. Great card. I think that honestly in Standard, if there's a Goblin deck, this could be like the stand-in for Goblin Matron. It's a bit bigger, but it doesn't get as much stuff, although hitting your land drops in Goblin decks is super important, so I actually think that often you will want lands with this. And it's a 2/3. Most of these are statted the way that you most want them to be for that deck. So this one has high toughness, so that you can put more blight counters on it, whereas the elf, on the other hand, has high power, so you can trade it off. So both the elf and the goblin have the stats that they want, which is awesome. And elf is also 3 hybrid mana, except it's 3/2. Gets elf Swamper Force from the top 4. Flamekin is statted well in that it's defensive. It's a 1/4. It's a good blocker for the deck. And it has a colorless in its mana cost, so it's easier to play in your multicolor Vivid deck. So great for that deck. And then, of course, Kithkin, as has been the theme of this set, gets the best one. This card's nuts. It's the same thing, but it's a 2 mana 2/1. So very good if there's a standard Kithkin deck. And bonkers and limited. Best one by far. Then Merfolk. So this does the exact same thing as the Goblin, except for Merfolk, but Merfolk don't have as much reason for this to be the size that it is as the Goblin decks do, but still great, great, great and limited. And I think all of these have some chance in Constructed, just because a 2-for-1 card selection creature, it can also make sure you hit your land drops, is nice to have. Emptiness, the black-white elemental incarnation. When it enters, if you spend double white, you get to unearth a creature, and if you spend double black, you can kill a creature. Great and limited, obviously. It's just a a Chupacabra, Necrotol, Dark Hatchling sort of effect. It can also reanimate something. In standard, the fact that this can just be 2 mana to kill something small is good. And if there's some kind of Esper Abhorrent Oculus deck, this could be one of the cards in that deck. So I like this too. Feisty Spikeling. So we've got some common hybrid changelings. They're all a bit under, or a bit like overcosted, bad rate, but they can fit in a lot of decks. So this is Boros Hybrid Changeling, 2/1 first strike during your turn. So all of these can go in 4 tribes, I think. So this can be Goblins, Flamekin, Kithkin, or Merfolk. This can go in all those decks. So if you need to fill in your deck, your tribal deck in limited, these do that. It's green-white Figure of Destiny. You can pay 1 to make it a 2/3, then you can pay 3 to make it a 4/5, and then 6 to make it a 7/8 True Name Nemesis. First things first, this card isn't good enough for standard. I guess if there's a Kithkin deck, it will probably need another 1-drop, but this one's definitely worse than the Behold one, the white one. And Figure of Destiny is just like the most power creep card ever. This is better because it has more toughness at each of the steps, but still, it just kind of you can't be spending this much mana on activated abilities in standard. Limited is great, though, still. One thing I will say is if you find a way to give this changeling, I think there are a few things in the set that do that. You can skip the early steps and go straight to the 6 mana one and win. So that's cool, but I don't, not looking forward to this card in standard. I don't think it'll be good. Flaring Cinder. 3 mana, hybrid blue-red elemental, 3/2. When it enters, or when you cast a spell with mana value 4 or greater, you may discard a card and draw. Filler. It's a filler card. It is 2 colors for Vivid, which is nice, but like Vivid, the elemental deck, I think that straight blue-red elementals won't be good, and you'll want to be Vivid, and if you're doing that, you won't really have much you want to discard because you need to make all your land drops, and you want to keep the big things to cast with them. So like, I'm not sure I love it anywhere. But you will need 3 drops. You obviously can't start your curve at 4, so you may need to play this anyway. But it's cuttable. Gangly Stompling, hell yeah. Alright, here we go. Limited Giant decks. This is a 3 mana 4/2 hybrid changeling, red green, trample. This is so good with the 5 mana giant that gives double strike is all I can think about when looking at this card. Um, in all seriousness, and I think that deck could actually be good, but it is good in Elves because you can trade it off, and I think it's fine in Kithkin because it's an aggressive creature, which is what that deck wants. So good filler to fill out your tribal decks, and great card for the Giants deck. I think you'll want 2 of that uncommon to go into that deck. You need more than 1. You need 2 of that, the red uncommon giant to do that thing though. Clister Baron, 5 mana Vivid, 1/4 hybrid blue-green. At the beginning of combat on your turn, creature gets +X/+X, where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. How about you comment on this video, Maisie, and tell me whether you like this card? I predict that you won't, because horrible blocker, hard to cast if you don't have in a multicolor deck, since it's 3 specific, you won't, it's not too hard to cast, but you won't always be able to. And you're not really playing a beatdown deck, you're just trying to get to the late game and play your unbeatable cards so you don't care that much about this kind of ability. And it only works, it's such an offensive card in a deck that wants to block. So that's my takeaway, that this card is not good in that deck. Might be okay in Kithkin or Elves. It is pretty good pump effect. If you have a Kithkin deck and you play this, then you're just like +3/+3 to something every turn. That's kind of nice. If you have a white card. Alright, the Goblin Tribal Command. Sorcery, 5 mana. Copy a Goblin. Give your creatures +1/+1 haste. Destroy an artifact or creature. Mill 5 and Ringleader for 5, basically. This card's good. I think that it's very much a 1 or 2 of in standard Goblin decks if they exist, Pioneer Goblin decks if they exist, and if someone tries to play modern Goblins again or Legacy, they might play one of these. Um, yeah, it's nice because the middle 5 means if you hit another one of these, you get that since it's tribal. And cool art. I like this card for Goblin decks. I think it's going to be played if that deck exists. And limited, obviously, great. Just one of these that can just remove a creature and then either draw from the top 5 or copy. And then there's also the copy haste thing if you want to go in for the kill. I think all of the modes on this one are pretty good. High Perfect Morcant. 4 mana, 4/4. When it or another elf enters, blight 1, and you can tap 3 elves to. When it or another elf enters, your opponent blights 1, so they have to choose a creature to shrink of theirs, and tap 3 elves to proliferate. Amazing limited card for elf decks. So even if you're playing a Vivid deck, I think you can just play this as just a 4/4 that shrinks a creature when it enters. Great, great limited card. Bomb, I'd say. In the elf deck, it's a bomb. Otherwise, it's just good. Hovel Hurler, 5 mana, giant, 6/7, starts with 2 -1/-1 counters. Pay 2, remove a counter, give +1/+0 in flying. Great way to give flying to your double striking giants. That's going to be so much fun. And yeah, it's just good in the plate deck. Starting as a 5 mana 4/5 isn't bad at all, and the ability is quite powerful as well. Kirill. Vampire cleric with pointed ears that's not an elf. Boros. It's a weird card. It's a 3/3 for 3. Boros hybrid. You can tap 2 untap creatures to copy a triggered ability. Weird ability. Activate only once each turn. Well, now. Good in Merfolk, I guess. And then if you have like a Banishing Light, then you can hit 2 things with that. I don't hate it in limited. I don't know what you would use it for in standard, but maybe someone will think of something. Lorwyn, Imperfect Naturalist, 2 mana. When it enters, you mill 4 and put a creature land on top. Then 5 mana discard a land card to get a worm token, spelled correctly for once, for each land in your graveyard. So in standard, the card Overlord of the Baelmerk exists and is better than this, but there could be some kind of self-mill deck with that and this, and then like Ice Till Explorer, that's like a standard land self-mill deck that could be pretty cool. In limited, it's very good ability, late game mana sink, and the ETB can smooth out your draw, even though it isn't card advantage. And it mills for your elf deck. Good and limited. I think it could do some stuff in a standard graveyard deck as well, so cool card. Merlin, Fey Ascendant, 5 mana, 4/5 flying, and when it or another elf or fairy, it's both an elf and a fairy, enters, you exile 2, from your opponent, and you can play them for free once each turn if you have enough elves and fairies. Bomb and limited if you can play it. Probably fine if you have a few other elves and fairies in a vivid deck, but for the most part, you would splash green in a fairy deck, or else you would splash blue in an elf deck to play this. I like it. Marrow Sky Swimmer. 5 mana hybrid 2/2, Convoke, Flying Vigilance. When it enters, you make a 1/1. I don't think this card's great, but I don't think it's as bad as it looks as a 5 mana 2/2, because it really does a lot of what Merfolk like to do. It pays off Convoke. It has two pretty good abilities. Vigilance obviously helps with Convoke, and it makes another token for Convoke. I don't hate it, but I still think it's very cuttable. But it isn't quite as bad as it looks, is all I'm saying. Mischievous Sneakling. Hybrid Demir card, 2/2 flash, and Changeling. Great for fairies. Um, Fine, again, in 4 of the 5 tribes. Goblins, Elves, Kithkin, Merfolk. And quite good in fairies as well. I like this one a lot. I mean, my favorite's still the Gruul one because I want to do the giant thing, but this one is probably better. Morkan's Loyalist. Uncommon 3 mana elf. 3/2 Lord. When it dies, you raise dead an elf. That's quite good. Very good card in limited. I think not quite good enough for standard, but great in limited. Maybe the best of the ones we've seen, although I think the Goblin one that is a Blood Artist with Death Touch is pretty good too. But yeah, these are all great. Limited if you're in the tribe. Noggle Robber. 3 mana. Hybrid. 3/3 enters or dies, make a treasure. This is amazing in Vivid decks. It's just like 2 colors, fixes your mana, ramps you. Great, great in limited. I think you would probably play it in elves as well, or definitely in giants. You'd certainly play it in giants. Prideful Feastling. It's a 3 mana 2/3 lifelinker, changeling. This one's pretty bad. You should try not to play this. It's just bad stats. If it was a 2/4, we'd be talking. But as things stand, it's the first cut you'll make if you need to cut a card. Raiding Schemes. 5 mana Gruul. Each non-creature spell you cast has Conspire. This card's horrible in limited and constructed, I think. So in Shadowmoor, there was a already suspect card called the Raid Mother that did this, but it was a creature and it made 2 tokens. So like I think it only worked on red-green instants and sorceries, but still like that thing gave you board presence when you played it, and this doesn't. And I don't even think that card was that good. Awful card, don't play it ever. Reaping Willow. 4 mana, 3/6 lifelink. When it enters, it has 2 -1/-1 counters on it. So it starts as a 1/4, not great. Remove 2 counters to unearth a creature. This is really one of the worst uncommons in the set, I think. It's just like bad stats, and then the ability will very often fail to have a target. Um, in which case you can't even use it to grow if you don't have a target. This card's just, I don't like it at all. I mean, you might have to play it, but sometimes, but I don't like it nearly as much as the other uncommons in this section. Sanar, 4 blue, 2/4 goblin is it? Hybrid at the beginning of your first main phase. Reveal for Vivid, and then You may cast one of the cards this turn. So basically, this is good. It just draws you an extra card every turn. Great and limited, I think. Yeah, I like it, but not too slow for standard. Shadow Urchin, 3 mana, 3/4. When it attacks, you blight 1. And when a creature you control dies, you exile that many cards from the top of your library. If it for each counter on it, and you can play them to your next end step. Great in the blight deck. Would be a lot better if it was a goblin, but still great in goblins or in Orzhov in limited. Probably not. It probably might be standard playable if it was a goblin, but since it isn't one, yeah, I don't think it is. Stoke Grove Guide. 5 mana, 5/4. And then you can pay 2 and exile it from your graveyard to get an elf token. This is nice. It's great in elf decks because you can build this and then you won't even have to cast it, so it's just like a free 2 mana 2/2. That will be the best case, but casting it and trading it off isn't awful either. And then maybe some kind of standard Insidious Roots deck could play this since it makes a token when you exile it, and a token from Insidious Roots, so you get 2 tokens that can make mana, but I doubt it. Sig's Command, the Merfolk Command, 3 mana. Look at these guys. They're tripping out. I like this art a lot. 3. I'm having trouble getting over it. Give me a moment to compose myself. 3 mana, copy a Merfolk, give yourself lifelink, draw a card, tap and stun. I think this one's actually the best. I think it's efficiently costed, and drawing a card is always nice. You can just stunning will be good. Keeps you alive against aggro decks with lifelink. If you're playing a Merfolk standard deck, I like this one a lot. So between this and having the best double-faced card, I think Merfolk are looking good for standard. Limited, it's very good, as all of these are. A bit weaker there than in standard, where mana efficiency doesn't matter as much in limited, but it matters. It just the ones that are just like total bombs are better in limited, but I think in standard this might be the best one. Tam. This truth feigned honest Tam a chanter as he frae a nicked canter. 2 mana, 2/2. Each other creature you control has hexproof from each of its colors. Tap makes something all colors, so it's an overcosted giver of runes. But in the Vivid decks in Limited, this is amazing. It gives you all the colors. That's what you want. That's what Vivid does. So I think you can't pay 2 for this in standard. You need to pay 1 for like Skrelv and stuff like that. And it can't target itself the way Mother of Runes can, which is a shame. But insane and limited. So that's my take on that card. Next is the Kithkin uncommon multicolor, green white. When it or another Kithkin enters, +1/+1 and trample, just this card's going to kill you. If they're playing a Kithkin deck and you stumble and they have this, you'll die. Sorry, very good in Kithkin. Another great Kithkin. Tristan's Command, 6 mana, Elf Tribal Command. Sorcery. Copy an Elf. Raise dead 2 permanents. Destroy a creature. Or +3/+3 and untap your creatures. I think this one is the worst in constructed. I think of all of them, this one has the least chance of seeing any play. Kithkin one doesn't seem great either, but it just seems like it's like does all of its abilities are worse versions of the Goblin one, but like it costs more for some reason. That kind of sucks, but they can't all be the best. Like returning 2 permanents, I think you'd rather just look at the top 5 and get new cards, like the Goblin one does. And I guess plus three is probably better than haste and plus one, but not by that much. Haste is pretty nice. The absolute bomb in limited, still, even if it isn't quite as good as the Goblin one, but not good enough for standard, too expensive. But I think in limited, again, just kill a thing, pump your team, or kill something. All of its abilities are great in limited, so I do like it there. Twin Flame Travelers, 4 mana, elemental, uncommon, flying, 3/3. Is it? And it copies elementals' triggered abilities. Good people do like Risen Reef, so, you know, casual Pioneer players will love this card. Limited, I think it's one of the weaker ones since it does the least on its own. It's a bit poorly statted, but if you have enough triggers in your elemental deck, it is good. Vibrance is a dog with antlers. It's the Gruul mythic evoke elemental. Costs 5 for 4/4. Double red, you can bolt something. For double green, you get expedition map and 2 life. So this can get non-basics, which is nice. This is probably the best one. It does a lot. Anyone that just has a kill a creature mode is great. This one's very well costed. 5 mana for a 4/4 that bolts something and gets a land is great. In limited, first pick every time. Don't even need to play green for this to be good. If it's just mono, if you're not playing green, you still 4/4 Flame Tongue Coffee. It's great. And yeah, probably playable in standard as well, depending on what lands you want to get, I guess, but still great card. Probably the best one in both limited and standard. Voracious Tome, Skinner, 3 mana, hybrid fairy with flying. When you cast a spell on an opponent's turn, you lose 1, draw 1. Great in the fairies deck, and not that good otherwise. In limited, not playable in constructed. But still a great payoff for your flash deck in limited. Wary Farmer, 3 mana, hybrid Kithkin, 3/3. On your end step, if you played a creature you surveil. Definitely, like, this is the worst Kithkin we've seen so far, and it's still quite good, like, as far as these commons go. And you'll play it if you need another 3 mana Kithkin in that deck. And then also, I think it's actually better in Elves because it fills your graveyard. 5 mana, Wistfulness. The Simic, Evoke Elemental. Disenchant for green, then Catalog for blue. That's good. If you'll need this sometimes in limited to kill bombs that are artifacts or enchantments, and there are those in this set. And then it's just like a 5 mana 6/5 enters, draw 2, discard. Good card. All of these are bombs in limited. Obviously, I think this one is also under the right circumstances playable in standard. That's all the multicolor cards. Stay tuned for the colorless cards, and then we're done. Thanks, everyone.